Nicole.
Hi, it's Marion.
Hey, you.
Hi, Kay.
Hey,
Hey, Marion. It's Marcia, too.
Hey, Marcia. Cutie.
Hey, Nicole, how are you?
How's the East Coast doing?
It's doing good, except we are going to get a thunderstorm at any moment. So if I go on mute or something funky happens, it's because we're going to get a downpour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
We
so
are
don't
as
panic.
well. From what I hear, it's like 105 degrees outside.
Oh, wow.
So
Where are you
I
from,
know.
Marion?
so
I'm in Florida, but I took the day
Oh.
off, and I have not gone outside except for early this morning to walk the dog.
Yeah,
And
Florida
well-
this time of year.
Yep.
so I'm obviously I'm in Seattle, and it is like almost 90 degrees outside, so it's very unusually hot for us. And
Yeah.
I also have to apologize. We are having roof construction at work, and so if there is banging or something happening like that, if you can hear that, Marcia, if you want to let me know, I can try to go into a different section of the building.
Okay. All kinds of fun stuff happening today.
Oh, you betcha.
So, do
Donna,
we have
are
a
you
lot
on
of
yet?
attendees? Are we expecting a lot of attendees today?
There were 211 registered, and so far we have 14 that are on hold.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hi, Donna.
I hope no one was getting nervous because I sure was. I couldn't log in.
Oh, no.
Well, and I had to forward the email to my personal email because my company email site is down.
Oh my gosh, the things we do to make this work. I'm actually at a client's, and I kept trying to dial the number, and it said enter your authorization code, and the person's voice was different because I'm thinking, gosh, go to webinar. They must have changed vendors or something with regards to the recorded message, and come to find out, it was this organization's security code I needed to dial to get an outside line.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. How is everyone today?
I'm good. I took the day off.
Oh, good. Yeah, but you had a birthday. I think it was last week, wasn't it?
I did have a birthday. Yes, I tried to
Hey.
get those things.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
belated birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who's on is Marion, and I hear Marcia's voice. Marion, Donna.
Kay.
Kay, hi Kay.
Hi, Kay.
Cole was on.
You know, and I probably went like this. I go, hey Kay, because this is your first time presenting with the team, you may want to call in early. And Kay, you're probably thinking, well, where the heck is Donna?
I was on at like 11:35. I was like, I know I'm super early, but I just want to make sure everything works. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we remember those days, don't we, Marcia?
Oh, we sure do.
Oh.
Before you got on, Donna, I wanted to tell the group that the sky is actually black right now, and we're expecting thunder showers at any time. So if something funky happens, just keep going,
Okay.
and I'll try and get back on.
Okay. Hey,
But
and
so far it's holding off.
remember the last two webinars, there's a window that opens up on my screen when you click it to go, and it says audience is on mute. So from now on, if I see that, just disregard it because you're controlling it on your end, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'll start
So
it.
I won't ask that because I think it's only on my screen, because I think someone even said the last program I did, oh, no, it's not on mine.
Yeah, and I don't see it. Usually I see it on mine, and I don't for some reason, but that's okay.
Did we decide it was better for us to call in as opposed to using the computer audio?
That's what we talked
Okay.
about. Yes,
Right.
Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I did. I called in.
Yeah, good.
And Donna,
and
should I make you the presenter just to make sure your screen is all good and all that stuff?
Yes, please. And will you be able to activate the poll, or shall I do that?
Just tell me when you'd like me to, and I can do that.
Okay, perfect.
And I'm
Okay.
sorry I don't have everybody else's picture on here. That was my bad. I need to get it resized, and I didn't get it resized in time, the photos.
Okay.
So sorry
So
about
that'll
that, but I
be
will
for
do
our,
it.
for our next session, right?
Yeah.
And then where it says show my screen, don't do that yet, right?
You don't have to, because we got your face up there, so there's
Okay.
they know something's happening.
I hear quietness. Is Nicole on? Uh-oh.
She was. I know they're having
earlier.
construction there.
They're having construction there?
Yeah, she said roofers are there.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I wonder if she's calling from home. I know they were doing some construction there. I don't know.
No, it's not home because she said if I need to go to another part of the building, I will. So I don't believe she's home.
Well, if for some reason she doesn't. Oh, you
Oh,
are?
she is.
Oh, good. Okay, we were just trying to create a backup plan, Nicole, in case you didn't connect.
No, I'm here, but they're doing they're relaying the roof, but it's a metal roof, and so there's like a tar smell and there's banging.
Oh, so you're gonna be kind of high, aren't you?
Yep, pretty much. So guys are fiddling. That's why.
Hey, Nicole, I just want to mention you seem like you're speaking far away. Are you far away from your phone or something?
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah,
That's better.
much better.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. Okay, team, go, go, go. What time do we have here? I don't have a place where it's
12:53.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go on mute for just a moment so I can prepare my mind, and I will be back in just a couple of moments. Thank you.
Sounds good.
I have to make sure that the dog doesn't bark.
Oh.
She usually doesn't. She's not a barker. But if something goes by, she might decide
Yeah.
to bark.
My dog doesn't like loud trucks.
Yeah, no, she's a very, very quiet dog. I mean, she almost never barks.
Oh.
Her bed is at the top of the stairs, and she looks outside all day. That's her company, I guess. And, you know, if she sees something going by, because the window faces the street, and if she sees another dog or something, then she may bark. But overall, she's probably good.
I'm sure most everybody can understand that. Here. I was on a conference call the other day with a vendor of ours, and she does like the FaceTime thing, like the face meeting, and all of a sudden her dog just comes walking in right across the shot. It was so funny.
Well, that's good. It makes for an interesting conference call.
Yeah, it does. You guys, hold on one second. I just need to talk to somebody. Oh my God, you poor thing. I don't know how you're going to get to your side. Oh, my boyfriend's right next to the door. So you get 2 tickets, and these you just put on your shirt to get into the catering area. Awesome. And then you get to have some fun bucks. Awesome. So, thank you so much. See you Friday? Yeah, see you on Friday. I'm excited. Yeah, I have another friend who's coming too, but she's going to be for her. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I would have asked her one, but I didn't know she was coming till like yesterday. Yeah, somebody can't. Oh, thank you. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. You're welcome. It's supposed to be nice out too. Yeah. Hi. Good, how are you? Thank you so much. I'll see you in a couple days. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're coming. Yeah, thank you. Stay dry. I'm back.
Okay.
we have our company outing on Friday at a amusement park in New Hampshire. So people are coming by for their tickets.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it should be fun,
You
and
like
the weather
to
is supposed to be good.
Do you like to ride those scary rides?
I do not. My boyfriend's little girl who's 9 loves them. I do not like them so much.
So I guess he has to go with her, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So Donna, do you want to share your screen now? And when you do share it, let me know if the thing about do you want to start your program goes away or if it stays there.
Okay.
Because only you can see that.
I'm showing my screen. I'm pressing the button right now. I see no box.
Okay.
I referred a potential client to Mike over the weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Thank you. And I'll get to see you in person next month, you and Nicole.
Yeah, I know. We're so excited.
Gonna be here before you know it. Oh my gosh.
I know this
year is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk at some point too to make sure you get what you need ahead of time. Okay, Marcia.
Okay. I have the NAM certificates already because you were great at getting me all that stuff early.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah,
and
so much.
I hope we've worked together long enough where you no longer have an anxiety like, oh my God, I hope Donna doesn't stiff me on the PowerPoints or something.
No, Donna, you can get it to me the morning of.
Oh gosh. Don't tell Nicole and I that.
I know you're busy. Yeah, now I'm so relaxed it's like too funny. All right, ladies, well, I'm going to start the program if everybody is ready.
Knock 'em dead, ladies.
Awesome.
Ready.
It's not starting. Okay,
Can I
this
do
is
something
weird.
on my end, do you think?
Do you see anything? Usually I just hit *1. Donna, hit *1 and see if it says
on
to
my
you
on my
program
phone.
start. Yeah, on your
on
phone.
my phone. Okay. No.
Do anything great. File.
It doesn't say. There's
Does
usually
anyone else have a button that says start program or?
No. I mean, I see the first slide.
I see the first slide as well.
All right, what is going on here?
I have sharing, now viewing Donna G's screen, then it says show screen.
I don't see the CEO.
No, I don't want to show my screen.
This has never happened before, but we'll remain calm.
We'll remain calm. Oh, yeah, they can hear us talking in the background. All right, well, hold on. All right, we are ready to get going. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Marcia Wessel, and on behalf of IntelliSoft Group, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Creating the Ultimate Patient Experience. Today's program will be presented by an exceptional group of women, Donna Gestencourt, Marian DeRugolo, Nicole Keller, and Kay Ward, and is brought to you in collaboration with Team Med Global and sponsored by the Massachusetts Association of Medical Staff Services. For those of you who may not know IntelliSoft Group, we are a leading provider of credentialing, provider enrollment, and contract management software. We also have an NCQA certified CBO division that can help with either temporary or full-time assistance for a number of services, including PSV and enrollment. A few housekeeping items today. The dialog box located on the right-hand side of your screen is very helpful for a number of reasons. If you find it difficult to hear the presenter, you may find it easier to call in on the phone number displayed in the audio section of the dialog box, because sometimes computer speakers aren't ideal for sound. Also, there will be a live Q&A at the end of the webinar. Because we have so many attendees, we request that you submit your questions in the question section of the dialog box. And finally, the PowerPoint and certificate for participation in today's program are available in the for download in the handout section. This program is currently under review by NAMS for 1 CEU, and as soon as that becomes available, I will be sending it out via email. Now it is with great pleasure that I introduce our friend and today's first speaker, Donna Gestencourt. With over 42 years experience in the medical staff services industry, many of you may know Donna or have worked with her personally. And with that, I'll turn things over to Donna.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marcia. And again, we apologize with regards to the technical issues before our program started. We didn't realize that people could hear us, but that's great that you let us know. This is the second time that we've had that little technical glitch, so we definitely will do some troubleshooting to be sure we can begin future programs as seamless as possible. But thanks for hanging in there with us and again, letting us know so we could get this program started. So hello, everyone, and welcome to this second session in the Practice Management Series, which is part of our successful Dr. FBI educational programs. Although this program is targeted specifically for professionals working in varied medical practice offices, the rich information that we're going to be sharing today can indeed help all listening professionals improve first impressions with their key stakeholders. All right.
Are you there, Donna? Hold on, we are waiting for Donna. I think she went offline for a second, but let's give her a moment to get back on the phone. I know she's working off site and has to put in some codes for the sound, so hold on 1 second and Donna will come back. And Donna, you may want to call in on your cell phone if that might be easier, because I know that you have to enter that code. We can see the presentation okay, it's just the sound went away, so. Cell phones are good for when you're not sure about the phones in someone else's organization.
Hey, Marcia, as we're waiting for Donna, do you kind of want maybe the speakers to introduce themselves so that we can make sure that the content? Okay, perfect. So the next slide is actually Marion. You want to give a brief introduction to our wonderful audience?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marion Dergalo, and I have over 40 years experience in the credentialing and medical practice arena. I've previously served for 8 years as a director of medical staff in a local community hospital before transitioning to my current position of over 12 years as a practice administrator for a large physician organization.
Okay, guys, I'm back. This is Donna. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you now, Donna.
Okay, am I advancing the slides? Does everyone see Nicole's picture?
We do see Nicole.
Here we go.
We can move on. No. Hi, all. I'm Nicole Keller. I actually have over 15 years of experience in healthcare, ranging from public health to an actual hospital healthcare system within the medical staff office, but also quality and compliance, to a laboratory pathology group setting where I had a medium-sized group. I've also managed large primary care facilities and currently working with a regional pathology group with 52 hospitals. I get to work with medical staff all the time. I love it. And over 50 pathologists. So thank you so much for having me.
Okay, great. Kay, how about you?
Hi, Donna. Thanks for introducing me. Hi, everyone. My name is Kenesha, but I go by Kay. I have been in the medical staff field as well as the payer contracting field for almost 8 years now. I'm currently the president of Credential Pros Consulting, which is a payer enrollment firm that assists private practices and things like that with payer enrollment into the different insurance payers. That's about something. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Kay, for joining us today. Now, as I advance the slide, I want to make sure that all of our listeners understand that more and more established MSPs are moving into the practice management environment. And there are some who are currently working in a physician's or specialty practice, but have truly been helped by these educational offerings that this education team is presenting through this series. So as always, we just want to reassure you that we are here to help advance your knowledge and increase your understanding of really what works to leading that positive first impression, regardless of who our stakeholders are. This kind of information truly is transferable from organization to organization and from environment to environment. So utilize, frame it with the culture that best meets your need. As we look at everything displayed on this screen, it really does take a team effort to present any kind of an educational program. As Marcia indicated, this program truly is being sponsored by NAMS by issuing Category 1, I should say continuing education credits, and the Massachusetts Association, who's actually sponsoring these programs in partnership with IntelliSoft. So your education team today is really proud to be part of this esteemed group of professionals. Now, because you've just heard personally from each of us, each of your speakers today, we want to know just a little bit about you. So we need your help by answering just this one question. So if you could use your dialog box and Marcia, if you could activate this poll, please. We're wanting you to respond to our poll by asking, who or where do you work? So if it's a medical practice management environment, please indicate A. If it's medical staff services department, B. Payer enrollment, C. If you work at a CDO, D. And if you work in any other environment, please indicate option E. So Marcia, you tell us when you feel we have a good percentage of our respondents.
Okay. Oh, sorry, it took a minute. Everyone was answering through the questions. Hold on.
That's great.
There we
Way
go.
to participate.
It looks like there's 40, the medical staff services department is the one that's ahead. We got a lot of other, 24% other, and 14% medical practice management.
Okay. Well, and we recognize, all of your speakers recognize that we're pulling from the smallest population of our industry, and that's this medical practice management group. Please know that every educational program that I present, I ask the makeup of the audience, and there's more and more hands going up relative to those working in a physician's office. So there is a need out in the industry among those where the largest population is in the medical staff services department. We certainly want to be resources for one another. And that's truly what this educational series is about. How can we help one another better understand to make the experience for that physician's office as satisfying as possible when they're interacting with the medical staff services department. So we can go ahead now and close the poll, please.
Oh.
And okay. And what we're going to talk about today by way of our message is we're really going to help you identify the stages in the patient experience cycle that can truly have a positive first impression, and replace that patient with a medical staff leader or with a staff member or with a stakeholder. So again, frame this in a way that's going to be most relevant to your industry, but knowing that the target is truly about that physician's office. We're also going to give you tips on front desk etiquette and why first impressions in a professional office are so very important. And really think about that. Think about when we're entering an office, when we're entering a physician's office, and when people greet us, hey, good morning, or good afternoon, how that really can really improve the experience that we're having at that physician's office. So those first impressions really do matter. And that's exactly, again, why we're moving forward in this program. We really want to help you make that great first impression. By making that great first impression, we have to understand that everything that we're doing within the medical staff services industry, and for those loyal followers to our programs, this slide will not look unfamiliar to you. For those of you who are new to our listening base, we want to frame that everything that we're doing by way of educating ourselves and advancing the industry starts from how we're measuring our competence. So the knowledge we acquire, the skills that we practice every day, and our ability to demonstrate that knowledge and our skill is truly what is going to set us apart from other professionals and colleagues. And throughout my 42-year career, there have been 3 buckets of information. When I'm hearing from colleagues about their challenge, about their success story, it falls into these 3 pillars of strengths that make up an MSP. How efficient they're able to practice their skill, how effective they are in their interpersonal skills, practicing those techniques of emotional intelligence, and then being able to translate those 2 pillars into career success so they're truly in the driver's seat about what their career direction and their career path is going to be. When we look at the core competencies required of an MSP, you see on the screen those 2 areas that are bolded in black: practice management and front desk management. Again, because the smallest population of our industry is pulling from physician offices, it doesn't mean that they're not entitled to education as well, because we're an inclusive group and we want all facets of medical staff services and all of our partners to feel welcome and feel like they have a place to come to really learn firsthand about how we can work most collaboratively together. And that really pertains to, for this particular series, how we can improve the practice within our physician offices, the roles that each of us plays, and how that front desk, and this is our entry point, how our front desk really does set the tone of professionalism for the rest of the office. Now, to really start to drill down on all of the moving components of that front desk management, I'm now going to turn the microphone over to Kay, and she's going to help us walk through these buckets of expertise. Kay?
Hi, Donna. Thank you so much for introducing me into the next slide. Here we have basically a communication hub where front desk operations is basically the main communicator. And from front desk operations, we have all these components that make up the front desk operations. So scheduling, you need basically a person that is accessible, that can assist with questions and scheduling, that is knowledgeable in the whatever the scheduling software may be. From scheduling, you have registration, which helps with registering new and existing patients and keeping current information on file. You want to make sure you have current information on file for your patients, just in case you need to communicate with your patients with test results or anything like that. You want to be sure that you have that accurate information on file. From registration, you go into the clinical visit where you're meeting with your PCP or whichever the provider. The provider should be spending time with interacting with the patient and not spending most of the time writing notes, although sometimes, that's hard. So some practices intend to hire medical scribes who are highly trained professionals to be able to make those notes in so that provider can have more time with their patient. From the clinical visit, we go to the medical records department. You want to make sure that there is a system in place on requesting records for patients and other stakeholders and making sure the required forms by HIPAA are completed. And lastly, you have the collections department. The collections department makes sure copays are being collected. It confirms that the providers in network. For all my payer enrollment specialists, this is where it's really important as far as collections, because you want to make sure that your providers in network, that limits having to bill and things like that. So those departments lead us into our next slide, which is the core competencies. Okay. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, Kay, I have a question before we advance to the next slide. I love this graphic because so often in medical staff services, people misperceive the value of all of the moving parts. For example, a credentialing professional would have to be knowledgeable about, or a medical staff services professional working in a hospital's medical staff services department. So this gives us a wonderful graphic of the key components of expertise needed in a physician's office. When you were talking about clinical visit, which is the orange circle, not the orange, the green circle, you mentioned an acronym, PPE. What did you mean by that?
PPE is basically the patient experience, and the PPE is how you connect with your patient, how the provider is connecting with their patient, and is the patient actually understanding their treatment plan. And that goes as far as credentialing and payer enrollment as well. So connecting with your provider and understanding what you're being treated for or why you're even there at the visit is definitely extremely important.
Okay, got it. Totally. Thank you so much. So
No
here's
problem.
our next slide, Kay.
Thank you so much, Donna. And our next slide leads us into these key core competencies for providing the ultimate patient experience. All of our departments that we discussed in our previous slides must keep customer service and customer satisfaction from the first interaction, which usually happens around scheduling. You want to make sure you are providing the ultimate customer service experience. And with that goes, you want to make sure you have a standardized practice greeting. Hi, this is such and such doctor's office. How can I help you? Or we're having a great day, or something like that. You want to make sure that there's something in place for the patient to remind them, because we have patients, that are very busy and sometimes forget their doctor's appointments. So we want to be sure that we have a system in place to interact with our patients. And customer satisfaction, you always want to ask for feedback reviews, because we are in 2018 and we normally go to Google or something for reviews on the practice, and we want to make sure that we are getting the ultimate patient care. So we rely on those. We actually rely on those resources such as Google and things of that nature. The reason I picked my current PCP is because of the exceptional customer service. We're offered, light snacks and water and things like that for those of us who like making early morning appointments and usually forget those type of things, and we skip breakfast. Next, we have the revenue cycle patient experience that always seem to intersect. It's important for healthcare organizations to understand from the patient's perspective what is occurring at the front end of a patient encounter. We have three different patient encounters that we go through. It's before the visit, during the visit, and after the visit. We have to establish what expectations are being established, what information is being conveyed during these three interactions that we have. Is the information being conveyed in such a way that the patient clearly understands the payment processes, which also goes back to collections and provider enrollment and things of that always interact in conjoint? Is the information given in a compassionate and empathetic manner that is consistent with the organization's mission and values? All of these are key factors in how revenue cycle and the patient experience interact. And the focus on these three items, it delivers an informative, helpful, compliant, valuable, and pleasant patient experience and all other key metrics that also matter during this time that we intersect during this visit, during the patient visit. From there, I'm going to give the presentation over to Ms. Nicole.
Okay, I'm going to present the next few slides. This is Marion.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm now going to go into the next few slides and talk more about how we can make the patient experience more rewarding and positive. In striving for excellence, always greet your patients with a smile, reflect a positive and pleasant attitude by making every interaction stand out. We need to accept obligations and responsibilities. I find too often that people do not take responsibility for their actions. We need to acknowledge any patient issues, which we will go through more in detail under slide 18. Communication is key. Everyone needs to be able to communicate effectively. Establish strong working relationships with all our stakeholders. Encourage a working atmosphere of trust and respect. Stakeholders are your frontline workers in the office. It's important to establish strong working environment to build a strong relationship-centered environment. You should take the time to ask your employees about the challenges they face in daily operations. It's always good to hold brainstorming sessions with your staff. Your team will stay engaged if they feel their suggestions are adding value. Our patients are also the most important stakeholders and should be front and center. Always adhere to high ethical standards. Be the role model and ensure honesty, and always be transparent in all patient encounters. On the next slide, we're going to speak about having a well-designed website. I myself, having designed my own practice website, having firsthand experience, and in today's society of technology, a well-designed website is where our patients want to learn about our practice. The staff they want to know about the staff who are there to greet them. They want to know about the physicians and the care team taking care of them during their office visit. I find very often patients are always asking, and they want to know about the background and the credentials of the physicians, as well as the rest of the care team. On my company website, I like to include a brief bio of our physicians, and sometimes along with a photo helps the patient be able to relate when they come in for their office visit. These are most important to the new physicians who are joining our, I'm with an anesthesia group, so it's a little bit different, but I find that any patient is always looking to find out about the background and credentials of a physician. It's important to make sure that your website is interactive and user-friendly. You should offer drop-down menus where the patient can choose and see the different insurances that the practice offers. They'd like to have the ability to be able to complete forms prior to their visit, so that would make their their wait time shorter when they come in for their visit. And you should offer the ability for your patients to be able to make payments on your website. Patients also like the idea and ease of scheduling an appointment online. However, I often find that in speaking in my own experience, when I do try and do something online, that sometimes the information doesn't get funneled to the office. So it's always good to have someone in your office make that a positive experience by contacting the patient to confirm their appointment. I also think that it would be a good idea in order to welcome new patients, include a short video from the doctor, have the doctor speak a little bit about his practice, and offer a brief tour of your office or your facility. Next slide, please. Patient's first impression. The greatest impact you can have is how you and your team make your patients feel. Effective communication are among the key determining factors of a patient experience. Always remember to smile. Make direct eye contact. That shows the patient you care and you're listening to all their needs. It's important to introduce yourself by stating your name and briefly describe your role. You should also address the patient by their name. If you feel comfortable and you have a long-term relationship with the patient, you can address them by their first name if they don't mind. And always make your patient feel welcomed and valued. As I had mentioned before, it's always good to acknowledge any issues and apologize. Very often, people do not take responsibility for their actions. You should listen carefully to the patient's issue, offer to check the validity if the patient has a complaint, take action to resolve the complaint, and respond and make sure you get back to the patient with a solution. Appropriate body language also speaks volumes, shows the patient that you care and you're listening to them. Do not assume that any question a patient has is not important. Always speak politely with your patients and with enthusiasm. Most importantly, you should always strive to ensure the patient knows you're listening. Their needs come first. Always show appreciation and express your gratitude to your patients. Next slide, please. I'm now going to turn this over to Nicole.
Thanks, Marian. All right, so, other than the fact that patient satisfaction surveys are driving reimbursements for our group practices, why is patient feedback important? We need to understand what the patient wants, what their dislikes are, what their likes are. We need to take that information and we need to design changes to better serve our patients. So we're listening and then we're taking that feedback and we're changing. For example, do you have feedback surveys readily available within your patient rooms or even at their front office counter? The other thing that I've implemented is, anonymous online surveys and or actual patient feedback boxes so that a patient can choose whether or not they want to put their name down or just notify us of an issue. It is really important to improve patient satisfaction to retain your patients because this is a consumer-driven industry. So if they're not being seen by you, they're being seen by one of your competitors in your area. The one huge thing, and I think Marion and Kay, actually I think it was Kay that said, how did she pick her new primary care doctor? She went online and she read reviews. So really boosting online reputations. You know, be aware of your social media policy. If a patient provides feedback on a Yelp or other search engine, who is responding to that feedback? The one thing that patients and any human being wants is not only to have someone listen to them, but be heard. And that's two different things. We can listen, but then it can go in one ear and out the other, right? But being heard is the key. We want the patients to feel that we heard them. And so who's responding to those online issues and complaints? I challenge you all to kind of go online and look up some reviews. Really good social media policies and organizations that are invested in their online reputation are actually have a designated person, whether it's a manager and or a president of the company that actually responds and says, I am so sorry. I hear you that your experience was not up to par. This is how we would like, you know, I would like to have a conversation with you. Please give me a call at your earliest convenience, or this is how we'd like to rectify that. So online reputation in this industry of technology is key in ensuring not only the retention of your current patients, right, by hearing the feedback, changing practices to keep your current patients, but also get new ones. Next slide. That feedback also drives better care. So as an organization, we need to understand how our providers' performance impacts our patients. And the key word in the first bullet point is perceived quality of care. There is tons of research out there. And if you're a research data geek like myself, please feel free to give me, shoot me an email and I'll send you some research. But perception is almost more important than the actual care the patient receives, and perception, how the person feels about the care, about that touch from that provider, drives outcomes. So that is huge. And then the other thing is we need to understand, we need to be able to answer, is your organization meeting the needs of your patients? And if the answer is no, then once again, we need to go back to the previous slide and say, well, how are we going to change that? In that, we have to develop a culture of open communication and, my favorite word, continuous improvement. Open communication needs to flow from patient to front office staff or frontline staff, because frontline staff can be that person that greets you from the front desk, but it can also be the biller that receives all the calls from the patients about the money piece of it, right? We need to have open communication from patient to organization staff to provider, and that communication needs to come full circle back to the patient about how we changed or we improved our environment to better serve them. This is foundation for all of us. Yes? Donna?
Yeah, Nicole, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow of information, but when you complete this particular slide, I have a personal story with a client that I'm working with right now that I think will reinforce your point about culture.
We're working on culture right now too. I mean, this is huge. Culture is huge because culture, the foundation of culture either creates an open communication, continuous improvement culture for your organization, or it doesn't. And so what I guess the bottom line is that if we expect to have open communications from patients to our entity's staff, we also have to have open communication amongst the staff. And then we also have to have open communication back and forth from the staff to the providers. Donna, would you like to share your story?
I would. I'm working with a client actually as we speak, and that was some of my connectivity issues a little bit earlier. But interestingly, this redesign project requires me to talk with various stakeholders of this medical staff services department. And as I've been talking to the staff, their perception of how they're being reviewed or perceived in the field is so different than what their actual stakeholders are telling me. So for an example, the person in the medical staff services department who is that front person, the front desk person when anyone first enters the suite, she also attends many of the medical staff meetings. This particular person's presence is viewed as the department, the face of the department, as opposed to the director of the department or any other team member who are also providing very supportive and critical services. But that front desk person really is setting the tone or reinforcing the culture that that particular department has. And that's why the hiring of that front desk person is just so important to reinforce exactly the tone and the culture an organization wants to set. So wanted to share that experience.
And at least that's my sense in being out in the field with Team Med Global, is that culture is huge, especially in healthcare right now. We're all being asked to do more with less. And that culture is what's creating a positive working environment or a not so positive working environment for staff. So staff retention is huge. So thank you so much, Donna, for sharing your story. So this is one of my favorite things is hiring, but also retention is even more vital. So how do you hire and how do you retain? The success really comes in the front end of that, right? So you need to identify who are the right people with the right skills who have positive attitudes, what I would like to refer to is skills, soft skills or EQ, so emotional intelligence, who can also then drive a high quality work product. And once again, it's hiring for fit. And when I say that, the person who is interviewing for the job is also interviewing the employer. And that is kind of a scary, different dynamic that some organizations have implemented and some haven't. I will tell you that the success rate or the retention rate of new staff, if you hire for fit, and it's a lateral, back and forth between the applicant and the employer, it is incredible. So when I interview for any staff member, they sit down and I first say, thank you so much for coming here. I introduce myself and I pause, I go, I just want you to know that you are also interviewing myself on behalf of the organization. So you are interviewing the organization. At any point during this conversation, if you feel or if you deem that this organization is not a good fit for you, it is not rude at all. You can just say, thank you so much for your time, and our interview can end at that moment. So in that situation, I am giving a power and a position to the applicant to have an actual open flow, back to communication, of information so that we're both assessing. Pretty incredible what happens in those situations. So next slide, Donna. So continuing, you have to understand what the staff is going to do. And that's clearly defined job responsibilities and description. I wish I could see all of you in a room, and I'd probably raise my hand too. How many people have went and interviewed for a job, and seen the job description and then got put into the job and said, oh my goodness, this is not at all what I signed up for. So once again, really identifying what is the expectations, what are the duties, so that applicant or that person that is going to be an employee really understands their role in your organization. I cannot highlight enough the benefits of doing a team interview. So once I have a one-on-one and the applicant has enough information to determine fit, I have enough information to determine fit, we agree to move forward, it's really going to be a team approach to interview, because even though I will have interaction with the staff, they're going to have a team that they're going to have to fit into, that is going to interact with them on a constant basis where I'm not. So why would I be selecting them as a manager, as a director, as an officer? It shouldn't be me. It should be the people that they have to fit into, that they have to work with. So team approach is key in interviewing. Active interview. I love this, especially for very dynamic, complex jobs like front office. I mean, literally, if you put someone in a front office setting, they're getting hit by 10 different things all at once, and they have to, in 1 second, shift focus and or prioritize multiple tasks. You can ask someone, but actually having them feel it and experience it and live it is incredible. And once again, during this whole process, we're touching base, we're taking the pulse of both the applicant, the team that's now interviewing them, or they're shadowing a team member and saying, does this still feel right? Is this still a good fit? The other thing we're seeing across the industry is a behavioral assessment. I know we all kind of, assessment on behavior, but really there are some key behaviors for a cultural fit and or for a position. If I'm an introvert, then I might not be the best fit for a front-facing patient role. So people are really toying around with behavioral assessments. I will tell you that I just got back from a Walt Disney Institute on Employee Engagement, and they do have a behavioral assessment. So prior to them meeting with the team, they actually send out a behavioral assessment, and there is, I wouldn't want to say a right or a wrong, but if there are questions that aren't being answered in the Disney way, they do ask that applicant, to go find their happiness elsewhere because it's not a good fit for them. So kind of keeping that in the back of your mind of, what employees are successful where, so what attributes, not only the technical ability, right? We're kind of going more into the soft skill or the emotional intelligence piece. Next slide. I'm sure you guys, whoever is hired, has done check reference. I hear across the field, whether we're hiring for pathologists or doctors here, or whether we're hiring for staff, how valid that is. I do think it's really important, though, to just verify information, have candid conversations. I love the question, please give me 2 areas in which this employee excelled for you and 2 areas in which you deem this employee needs improvement. This is putting a positive turn to give me negative and positive attributes of this past employee. I think it's really important to keep it positive, but also acknowledge that we're all work in progress. So really try to pick those questions that really dive to the core in a positive way, knowing that we all need to improve. But if someone needs to improve in answering phones, and that's going to be 80% of their job, then maybe this position isn't the right fit for them. However, you might have a position open somewhere else in your organization where this employee would be better aligned. So personality, once again, I'm going to go back because it's so fresh in my brain, the Disney program that I attended. And the one thing that we can do for the most part, and once again, there's a little bit of pushback, and this is a generalization, but for the most part, we can train people technically. We can train them. Personality-wise or emotional intelligence, it's a lot harder to train people in the personality behavioral pieces. Looking for people that are self-motivated, not by the dollar sign, but maybe by growth and learning and challenges, would be a really good fit for a front office patient-facing position. Also, self-control. As Marion and Kay alluded to, we do have issues. We do deal with patients. I'm on the back end of actually talking to patients about med legal cases, and so really difficult conversations that are emotionally fueled. You have people coming into your office that are in pain. And so you have to be self-controlled when they lash out, because they're not lashing out at you, they're lashing out at the situation. And so having some self-control, I am such a believer in every single time I interact with a patient, and if for right or for wrong, I give them the title of my mom or my dad or my sister, my brother, my niece, my nephew, my aunt or uncle, and I put some emotion into our interaction, because they are someone's mom, they are someone's dad, they are an aunt and uncle and niece. And so really, really bringing that to the heart of it, and not always the head, I think is who you want to hire for. The other thing is, in healthcare, we all have to work independently and we all have to work with team. So asking about specific times in which they've been successful in each and been unsuccessful in each, and what they've learned. Change management, I mean, I know that we're all dealing with so much change, but that is a skill set. So are they change resistant? Are they late adopters? Are they early adopters? Really understanding where they align on the change spectrum, and also, the generation coming up, they're going to find fulfillment, especially in learning and growing. And so if a position, if someone enters the position that's a frontline staff, where's their growth opportunity? Where is their learning? Where is their direction? Is a good kind of foundation to start with assessing fit. If that position doesn't have any growth opportunity, but there's a learning opportunity, really being kind of forefront, putting that in the forefront of your interview so that the applicant can determine whether or not it's a position that they want to be in. Next slide. Donna does an incredible job of this, and she actually presents on this topic amongst other and more professionalism-based educations. But your appearance does matter. There isn't a right or wrong. When I first entered healthcare, all the nursing staff, everyone had to cover up tattoos. You couldn't have piercings, not even in your ears. You couldn't wear earrings, in your ears. That's changing. It really depends on the demographic that you're working with. So once again, going back to what your patients like and what they dislike, and being mindful about that. You have every right in your personal life, to show your tattoos or have your piercings or maybe a really cool color hair like blue, but really kind of take in the surroundings and understand how patients are receiving you, because that is their first impression, and that is what they're going to take away. Now, with that being said, I believe we all have to be true to ourselves, but once again, that's a part of fit. Body language, we say so much by just how we present ourselves. Is your shoulders facing your patient when you're talking to them? Are you twisting around, multitasking and looking at them? Really, really, really be mindful about what your face is saying and what your body's saying to the patients or anyone that you're interacting with. It's really funny. I forget what article said this, but even if you're smiling and you're talking on the phone, if you have a smile on your face, you sound happier. So even if no one can see me on the other end, I'm smiling because it makes my voice change. So just being mindful about it, about your tone of voice and your body language, even if you're maybe not facing a patient and you're talking to them over the phone. Another huge skill for frontline staff in healthcare is multitasking. Once again, going back to the situations of many practices where the front office staff are doing 10 different things at once, understanding how to prioritize those multiple competing priorities. The one huge thing that I think healthcare has slowly growing towards is cross training. You know, we used to have a scheduler, we used to have a biller, we used to have a, check-in person and a checkout person. Well, our industry and a family practice, or even like any medical group practice, it's so dynamic. So cross-training everyone will allow people the opportunity to serve patients when they need to serve patients. So in the days where there was only one person checking in a patient, you might have a line out the door. Well, now you have 3 or 4 check-in stations, and maybe someone from the back that's scheduling puts their phone on, but also, comes and helps the patient so that there's not a line out the door. So really making sure that it's a team approach and everyone knows the same information is key. Next slide. So Donna, I think this is your slide.
Yes, it is. And I want the rest of the team to interject as they need to. What we're attempting to do by these last closing slides is to really recap for you the critical role that each of us plays in the office that we work within. The culture is so critical. How we are perceived is going to define an experience that someone has coming into the department. So it's really our second session in this particular series, but it's the one that's really going to start drilling down into the different components that we showed on that entrance slide about all the moving parts within a physician's office. So these are tips, and it really is helping to reinforce to the MSP population, regardless of the environment that you're working, is this a transitional position that would be calling my name? Have I invested as much time as I can to try to influence a change at a CDO within managed care or in a medical staff services department that this might be another career opportunity for me? So as you look at these next couple slides of recap, let's really remember and think about those things that are relevant to how we can improve that experience for our stakeholders, but most especially for our physicians and our patients. So understand that MSP core competence is directly relatable to practice management and front desk management. Knowing that customer service and our customer satisfaction pertains to how people are perceiving us from a distance, how they are observing us during an exchange that we may have, and the message or the tone or that impression we leave with that person visiting us. And that personal excellence really is about a direct impact we can have on an experience. How effectively we're able to communicate, the frequency by which we're reinforcing that message, and that understanding that the culture of a department, the culture of we as individual human beings really trumps everything, because if we cannot align with the goals of an organization or the directives of a boss, there is a point of reevaluation that each of us must be responsible for. And knowing that honesty, integrity of purpose really is establishing and reinforcing the message of personal excellence that we're all striving to perform or do. Oops, let me go here. Sorry, people. Website tools. I love the smiley face, and just what you wanted, right? You want that smiley face. How we leave others is, do we want to leave them with that smile? We need to be introducing ourselves by name. Hello, my name is Donna. How may I help you, Mrs. Jones? People love when you can use their name, whether it's a first name or their last name, culturally, what's acceptable in that practice. And when you're talking with anybody, ask open-ended questions so you really have a sense about what their issue or their need is. And if you've made a mistake, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. We all make mistakes, but we have to be willing to apologize if it's appropriate in a particular situation. Understanding that what the patient's really, the real patient need is, and that's by asking these open-ended questions, or the medical staff leader's need is by asking these open-ended questions. Knowing that the right fit of hiring the right people is critical. And when you're hiring these people that make up your department, you are responsible to reinforcing what that expectation is of the culture and what you're looking for by way of tone in that department, by checking out with the references and credentials, making sure that it's the right fit. Are they going to professionally represent that physician or that department by their dress, by their behaviors, making sure they meet deadlines, have a positive attitude, and reinforcing that if you're wanting a job where you do the same thing and you end the day at a specific time, that perhaps is not the right environment for any MSP or any professional physician's office support team, because it's really about how we're going to be expected to do multiple things with multiple deadlines, and finding the people who can truly manage projects in that way. And then again, clarifying the job descriptions. And when you're interviewing, as Nicole had mentioned, how valuable it is to get that team interview going, and not only orienting that new employee to the culture and to the practice and to the particular scope of that project, but truly serving as a mentor for that person. They may start off in the role specifically hired for, but there are gems and gifts and value points and benefits that each of us have, and it's our job truly as mentors to kind of uncover those gems in the rough. And with that, the speakers team would love to leave you with this thought. And it really, regardless, again, the environment that we're working in, we want you to leave the impression of a positive feeling warmth once they have visited you. Let that person leave your presence with a smile. And with that, they will always be speaking of you and of that experience from a positive perspective that can help, again, bring patients into that office, bring the physicians back into the department that hasn't been visited by them for quite a while. So with that, I know we're getting close to time, so I'm going to ask Marcia to sort of open up the mic or open up the floor for our questions that have been collected as I advance through the slides to provide contact information for each of your speakers' team. So if you have questions, jot down our emails, and we are happy to assist. Before you begin, Marcia, by any questions that may have been received, please know that one of the other points of feedback that I have received from the field is the mental and physical health of MSPs. This is becoming a critical state. More MSPs are becoming very ill with ongoing stress. So again, because of ideas from the field, we are going to tackle that very sensitive and personal subject at our August webinar. So make a note of that date, please, August 21st. MSP-centered care, because you're that important. Okay, Marcia, any questions that we've collected from the field?
Yeah, I believe Kay had touched on something like PPE, the patient experience. Someone's asking exactly what does that stand for again?
Hi, Marcia. It actually does stand for the patient-provider experience and how the patient is interacting with the provider and vice versa. You want to make sure that, you know, as the provider, that the patient does understand, again, going back to my previous slides, the treatment experience, the treatment plan, and you also want to make sure they understand the type of medication they're being prescribed and so on and so forth as far as the patient provider experience does go. So yes, you are correct.
Awesome. And then someone just had a comment about having a patient portal. She knows from personal experience in multiple doctor's offices, you can enter all your medical history and then go to the office and find it did not integrate into the medical record. If the practice doesn't have that capability, she's recommending that you either remove that option from the website or add a note to the website that it will still need to be completed on paper once you arrive for your appointment.
Excellent, excellent, excellent suggestion. And that's, again, another benefit of these webcasts is that we can share information and help learn from one another. How frustrating is that when you think you've completed everything and then you have to recomplete it when you get to the office? So it's all about managing those expectations.
And then we had another comment about behavioral assessment. This person is an introvert in their non-work life, but is totally different in the office. For example, I'm an introvert and would prefer to stay home, but when it comes to meeting new providers or patients at work, I will come out of my shell. Sometimes you
You're
can
an
lose
extrovert
a great
introvert.
Yeah, she's just saying that sometimes you can lose a great asset based on, behavioral tests.
And that's why that's kind of controversial. So I threw that out there because there's some positions and there's some organizations that have found value in it. With that being said, it should not be your only criteria. It should just help with the assessment. Once again, I believe I stated that wasn't the first thing that allowed you to, proceed in an interview. It was just a component of it. Disney does, though, make a pretty finite line, though, in their behavioral assessment. But most of us don't operate like Disney. But that's a fair point because I echo that. Everyone's like, you're an introvert? Yes, I get my energy from sitting and petting my dogs and going on walks by myself or with my husband. So I echo that a bit. But in a good behavioral assessment, they can weed out whether or not you can engage people in a work setting versus where you find your energy from. But great point.
Yes, and I'd like to elaborate on that as well. Some of these larger health systems are indeed requiring a behavior element as part of the recruitment and interview process. And it's become very, very sophisticated because they recognize, meaning organizations, these large organizations recognize that how you're answering these questions are going to determine, in a general sense, whether or not they're going to be a good fit to the culture of that particular organization. But the feedback that I'm getting from our industry is that, oh my gosh, it was a very complicated interview process. And some organizations have their criteria so high that they are hiring more and more temporary professionals because their expectations are almost unreasonable. I mean, you have to be in the very upper echelon of performance and behavior. And you know what? We're all human beings and we have strengths and certainly weaknesses. But this organization, it will be interesting to see if their HR department in particular continues to hold to such a high standard, because they're spending like millions of dollars on temporary staff because of their recruiting expectations.
Perfect. Well, that's all the questions, comments we have today. Thank you, everyone, for your patience with our little technical glitch earlier on. And thank you, Donna, Marion, Nicole, and Kay for today's very informative presentation. And thanks to everyone for joining us. Everyone, have a great day and enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.